We don't care. We don't. All right? We don't. We want to watch her go out, play basketball, and throttle the shit out of everybody. All right? But the activist basketball players in the league hate her fan base. Look, they hated Iowa's fan base. Let's be honest, including Natasha Cloud. All right? They not only disrespected the league, not only disrespected Caitlin Clark in this.
The recent WNBA All-Star Player rankings have sparked intense debate regarding the evaluation criteria used by league participants when assessing talent across the roster. Questions have emerged about whether basketball performance alone determines these selections or if additional factors influence voting patterns. Statistical analysis reveals significant disparities between player rankings and on-court production metrics. Caitlin Clark's ninth-place finish in player voting contrasts sharply with her statistical dominance throughout the current season, raising concerns about the methodology behind peer evaluations.
Kiki Iriafen has been better than Aaliyah Boston. And you might be saying, oh, Kiki just struggled for her last 3 or 4 games. Well, that doesn't really make that much sense either, because if these votes were taken back then, it makes some of the guard votes even more embarrassing. If these votes were taken 4 or 5 games ago, Aja Wilson's team was 2 games below 500, and Nafisa Collier's team had lost 1 game. They'd lost 1 game up to that point. So
Natasha Cloud's 4th place ranking has generated particular scrutiny when compared to her statistical output relative to other guards in the league. The gap between Cloud's peer recognition and measurable performance indicators suggests factors beyond traditional basketball metrics may influence voting decisions. The ranking system appears to reflect philosophical divisions within the league regarding player evaluation standards. Some observers argue that peer voting incorporates intangible qualities and leadership characteristics that statistics cannot capture, while others contend that measurable performance should remain the primary consideration.
All-Star ranking by the players, they disrespected Kelsey Plum. They had her as the 16th best guard in the league. Guess what? She doesn't check the appropriate boxes. Neither does Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is straight and white, and they hate her for it. Let's not get confused. There is no confusion. Natasha Cloud, oh, she checking them boxes.
Kelsey Plum's placement at 16th among guards has drawn criticism from analysts who point to her consistent scoring production and overall impact on team success. The positioning suggests potential disconnects between public perception of player value and internal league assessment. League dynamics surrounding player activism and social engagement have become increasingly prominent in recent seasons. Several players have used their platforms to advocate for various political and social causes, creating additional layers of complexity in how teammates and opponents view each other's contributions.
what are we doing? Why is Nafisa Collier, I'm not joking when I say this, how did Nafisa Collier go below Aja Wilson in the player vote? There's no logic to it. Fee is averaging more points on a better team, playing better defense. I don't get it. Brianna Stewart was below Nneka Nwumeke. I don't mind that in player votes and media rank. Aaliyah Boston almost didn't get an all-star starter spot because the media...
The intersection of sports and social advocacy has transformed the landscape of professional women's basketball. Players who take strong public stances on political issues often find themselves either celebrated or criticized depending on the alignment of their views with different segments of the fan base. Caitlin Clark's rapid rise to prominence has coincided with unprecedented attention for the WNBA, yet this growth has not necessarily translated to universal acceptance within player circles. The disconnect between external popularity and internal recognition highlights ongoing tensions about the league's direction and priorities.
She's got the Brittany Griner trifecta. She's black and she's gay. And she's a woman. It's the hat trick. And they awarded her for that. All right? Plain and simple. I've seen people dogging out this season that Caitlin Clark's having. And she's pretty much statistically dominated almost every other guard in the league. This is not even close. This is not.
Statistical comparisons between highly ranked players and those positioned lower reveal inconsistencies that cannot be explained solely through traditional basketball analysis. Advanced metrics and basic counting stats often tell different stories than peer evaluations suggest. The voting patterns reflect broader conversations about identity and representation in professional sports. Questions persist about whether demographic characteristics consciously or unconsciously influence how players assess their peers' contributions to the game. Media coverage and fan engagement metrics demonstrate the complex relationship between on-court performance and public appeal. Players who generate significant social media interaction and mainstream attention may not receive corresponding recognition from their professional peers.
Ranked her as the 9th best forward. Not only that, the media ranked Aaliyah Boston below Kiki Iriafen. And by the way, Angel Reese as the 12th best forward, I think is a bit of a crazy one. Is a bit of a crazy... You know what? To be fair, like, Angel Reese did, if it was done 3 games ago, Angel did have 2 of her best 3 games of the season or her 2 best games of the season in the last 3 games. So there was maybe a little bit to say for that, but still, either way, like,
the league's growth trajectory depends heavily on star power and marketable personalities, yet internal dynamics sometimes work against promoting the most commercially viable athletes. This tension creates challenges for long-term strategic planning and brand development. International opportunities continue expanding for elite women's basketball players, with European leagues offering competitive salaries and playing conditions. The financial incentives available overseas provide alternatives for players who feel undervalued in domestic competition.
Not even a debate. Caitlin Clark was ranked 9th in the player vote. Natasha Cloud is 4th. These players literally get in front of a mirror and start putting clown makeup on because you're the Joker. I mean, you can't be taken seriously. Your credibility is out the window. Natasha Cloud.
Emerging markets, particularly in regions with significant investment in sports infrastructure, represent potential destinations for high-profile athletes seeking both financial rewards and competitive challenges. These opportunities could reshape the global landscape of women's professional basketball. The physical intensity of play has increased notably during recent seasons, with several incidents raising questions about the line between competitive aggression and targeting specific players. These situations contribute to ongoing discussions about league culture and player safety.
Angel was only the 5th highest voted forward. So her fans, dear Lord, you guys got to get out there and vote. You guys got to get out there and vote. But for me, this is a travesty that Kiki Iriafen was voted over Leah Boston. But now we've got the worst. And by the way, we at least know who the players voted under Leah Boston were. Over Leah Boston. We know. I don't even think Gabby Williams over Leah Boston is the worst decision in the world. Alyssa Thomas over Leah Boston.
Commissioner leadership in both the NBA and WNBA demonstrates varying approaches to handling controversial situations and managing player relations. The contrast in management styles highlights different philosophies about balancing player autonomy with league interests. Olympic selection processes and international competition considerations add another dimension to player evaluation debates. National team coaches and selectors often prioritize different qualities than those emphasized in domestic league voting. The upcoming media rights negotiations represent a crucial opportunity for the WNBA to capitalize on increased interest and viewership. However, internal conflicts and public controversies could potentially impact the league's bargaining position with broadcast partners.
All right. Just 8 days ago, called for Trump's impeachment. Natasha Cloud, WNBA player, sends comically stupid anti-Trump, anti-American tweet. Got destroyed, by the way. That was November 7th last year. Natasha Cloud tells Elon Musk to go back to Africa. This is exactly why Natasha Cloud got voted 4th by the players. This is what
Fan engagement surveys and attendance figures reveal strong correlations between certain players' participation and public interest levels. These market indicators provide objective measures of commercial value that sometimes contradict peer assessments. Youth basketball participation and development programs benefit significantly from having relatable role models and inspiring success stories. The visibility and accessibility of star players directly influences the next generation's interest in pursuing basketball careers. Educational initiatives and community outreach efforts led by prominent players create lasting impacts beyond game statistics. These contributions to society and sport development represent important but often unmeasured aspects of player value.
Obviously. But it's just the Kiki Iriafen one that's a shock. I have no idea who's between Aaliyah and Angel Reese, but there's no way Kiki Iriafen. There's no way Angel Reese should be any lower than 8th. Realistically, should be top 7. But at the end of the day, the players voted Satu Sabli over Alyssa Thomas. As in, the engine that makes the Phoenix Mercury go was voted below a 30% shooter. I don't know. But then we've got the guards, and this is embarrassing. This one's embarrassing because, again,
Training facilities and technological advances in player development continue evolving the standards of professional women's basketball. Modern athletes benefit from resources and analytical tools that previous generations could not access. The global expansion of basketball broadcasting and streaming services creates new revenue opportunities while exposing internal league dynamics to broader international audiences. This increased scrutiny requires careful management of public messaging and player conduct.
What they care about. This has nothing to do with basketball. Zero. Zilch. End of story. I mean, statistically, this is not even close. But the agenda is thick. It is thick here. They're not even trying to hide it. WNBA players think Natasha.
Sponsorship agreements and endorsement deals reflect market perceptions of individual player value, often differing significantly from peer rankings within the league. These commercial indicators provide alternative measures of professional worth and influence. Social media engagement patterns reveal how different players connect with various demographic segments, creating complex webs of support and opposition that extend far beyond basketball performance alone. The evolution of sports commentary and analysis has introduced new metrics and evaluation frameworks that challenge traditional assessment methods. These analytical approaches sometimes conflict with established player evaluation cultures.
If this was 3 games ago, it was before Caitlin Clark's second injury. So the last couple of games, in fairness, she did have a 2 or 3 game slump when the players are voting, but like they voted her 9th best guard in the WNBA. They voted Paige the 4th best guard, and I actually don't even disagree with Paige the 4th best guard. They voted Natasha Cloud as the 4th best guard in the WNBA. Natasha Cloud.
Future league expansion plans and franchise development initiatives must consider how internal dynamics and player relationships affect the overall product quality and marketability of women's professional basketball. The balance between athletic competition and social activism continues shaping the identity of modern professional sports. Players face increasing pressure to take public positions on issues while maintaining focus on their primary athletic responsibilities. The WNBA All-Star voting results have revealed significant disparities between player evaluations and statistical performance, creating widespread discussion about assessment criteria across different positions.
Cloud is better than Cece. Yeah, okay, man. It's nuts. It's nuts, folks. I mean, this is a joke. By the way, I mean, Kelsey Mitchell's a better player. It's absolutely absurd. By the way, they disrespected Aaliyah Boston.
In the forward category, player voting produced several questionable outcomes. Kiki Iriafen received higher ranking than Aaliyah Boston despite Boston's superior overall contributions throughout the season. This decision appears particularly puzzling given that Iriafen isn't considered the top performer on her own squad, nor even the leading rookie among non-playoff teams. The comparison between Asia Wilson and Nafisa Collier also raises questions about voting logic. When these ballots were allegedly cast several games prior, Wilson's team sat 2 games under .500 while Collier's squad had suffered only a single defeat. Collier's statistical output included higher scoring averages on a superior team with stronger defensive metrics, making her lower placement difficult to justify through conventional basketball analysis.
She's not even the 4th best player on her team. We've seen, by the way, we have seen the New York Liberty without Leo Phoebish, and we've seen them without we've seen them without her, and we've seen them without Jonquel Jones. They are clearly more important to this team than Tash Cloud. They're clearly more important to their team. And then we also saw Brittany Sykes get voted.
Brianna Stewart's positioning below Emeka Ogwumike in player voting represents another surprising outcome, though media rankings showed similar patterns. Boston nearly missed All-Star starter consideration due to media voters ranking her 9th among forwards, placing her behind Ali Raffin in their assessments as well. Angel Reese's 12th place forward ranking initially appeared severe, though timing considerations provide some context. If voting occurred 3 games before the announcement, Reese had delivered 2 of her season's strongest performances during that recent stretch. However, her 5th place standing in overall fan voting suggests broader support that wasn't reflected in peer evaluation.
2. It's crazy. It's crazy. And they wonder why this league is not taken seriously. Caitlin Clark against Alicia Gray. No, I mean, this is statistically in their.
The most significant controversy surrounds Iriafen's placement above Boston, a decision that lacks statistical or team success justification, while other questionable rankings like Alyssa Thomas above Boston carry defensive merit. The Iriafen selection stands out as particularly problematic. Additional forward voting patterns revealed players selecting Satu Sabali over Thomas, despite Thomas serving as the primary engine for Phoenix Mercury's success, while Sabali maintained a 30% shooting percentage during the evaluation period.
As a 7th best, I'm sorry, Brittany Sykes' team is better without her. Like, Brittany Sykes over Caitlin Clark. And by the way, there are 2 guards that we have no idea. Like, there are literally 2 guards that are not in the top 10 overall that got voted above Caitlin Clark. We've got no idea who they are. And by the way, Kelsey Plum at 16 is mental. It is mental. And it just shows the whole aces run the damn league. So Kelsey Plum leaves the aces. And by the way, I don't think Kelsey Plum has been.
Guard voting produced even more contentious results, particularly regarding Caitlin Clark's 9th place ranking. This placement occurred despite the voting timeline preceding Clark's 2nd injury, meaning her temporary shooting slump represented the only recent struggle when ballots were cast. Paige Beakers received 4th place consideration among guards, a ranking that appears more defensible given her overall body of work. However, Natasha Cloud's 4th place position generates substantial debate, considering her role within her own team's hierarchy.